Hello, hello, we are back. And in this section, we are talking about some special topics related to growing your own food. And if you remember, let's go back. In the first section, we talked about where food comes from. It comes from plants and animals, it comes from nature. And in the very last section, we talked about growing your own food and getting food from local farms and ranches. And so these topics in this section are just fun little special topics related to growing your own food. And this first one is all about homesteading. So, homesteading is this idea that's been around for a long time, but it's really gained momentum in the last few years as more and more people are finding out the benefits of growing their own food and the health benefits and just the satisfaction of being able to provide for themselves. So, here in this slide, I want you to look at these are just different homesteads. The first one here on the left, this is just a little house. This could actually be in any neighborhood. And it has a big garden, all kinds of fruits and vegetables growing, herbs. And this is done in a relatively small area. The middle picture shows a little bit bigger of a homestead with a greenhouse, chicken coop, a little bit of a bigger operation, some fields in the background there. And then this other picture here on the right just shows you again some vegetable gardens and the things that you might see around a homestead. Like I said, homesteads have become really trendy lately and have become really satisfying for families to do on any level, whether it's an urban homestead that you just do in a city and in your own backyard, or if you go out into the wilderness and get a plot of land and start living self-sustainably on the land. There's all different kinds of homesteads. I wanted to show you this. The Discovery Channel has a show called Homestead Rescue, and it's this family, and they're so funny and they're really cool. And they go around to people who have started homesteads but have run into difficulties, whether it's finding water or building their garden or raising livestock or chickens or goats or any number of things. It's a half an hour show, really awesome. Go check it out on the Discovery Channel. The guy that is the star of it is a real character. He's got this daughter who's just the best carpenter and can build anything, and it gives you a really good idea of what a homestead is and what the challenges are. It's not easy, but it's really satisfying, and you get all of that by checking out that show. So go ahead and check that out. um, a little bit about homesteads. Like I said, they've been around for a long time. The whole idea of homesteading started back in 1862 with the Homestead Act here in the United States. And what it meant was that anyone could get 160 acres of free land without having to pay for it, as long as they settled on the land and improved the land for 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, they owned the land. And a lot of people took advantage of this. This was during the time when everyone was moving from the East Coast out west. There was a lot of land to be had. And so that's where it starts with that's the history of homesteading. And it's coming back around in modern day to be this really cool, fun thing that people do on all different scales. Um, like I said, there's different types of homesteading. There's the classical rural homestead, which is out in the wilderness. You got a plot of land. There's no sewers on it. There's no electricity to it, and you just build a house using the wood that's on your land. uh, Create a garden, get some livestock, start breeding the livestock and having them produce food for you. So you have your garden producing food, you have your livestock producing meat and milk and eggs, and you got to find water and protect the homestead. And there's all kinds of things that go into it. But that's your classic rural homestead. Like I said, it's become very popular. So people have started to do suburban and urban homesteads. And right there, I want you to understand what rural, suburban, and urban means. So, first, rural means out in the wild, out in the wilderness, out in the countryside. Okay. The next step is suburban, which means a little closer into cities, but still on the outskirts of cities. So, neighborhoods with some land, that kind of a thing. And then you get urban, which is inside of cities, and these settings may not have as much space, but there's still lots of things that you can do to start kind of homesteading for yourself, which just means to provide for yourself. In the last lessons, we went over some of the things you can do on a windowsill or with containers or on your balcony to start growing your own food, even if it's just one tomato plant, right? So that would be urban homesteading. So this website, reformationacres.com, goes over all the different types of homesteading. I found it. I love it. It's super informative and tells you all kinds of details and facts about homesteading and all the different kinds of homesteading. And if you're interested in this subject, go there, start there, and you can find out a lot more information about it. What do you do on a homestead? Here we have the activities that you might do on a homestead. This is a picture of a very nice modern homestead that is out in the wilderness, but has really nice buildings and lots of good land around it. And basically, the basic things that you do, we'll go over in just a second in more detail. But grow your own food, raise your own livestock, preserve your food by canning or freeze drying or dehydrating, building stocks of food so that in the winter you have fruits and vegetables that don't grow in the winter, and vice versa. You can stockpile potatoes and root vegetables that grow in the winter and not in the summer, and that kind of a thing. Cooking and baking obviously is going to be a big part of homesteading. Homesteaders don't love going to the markets for their food. They like cooking it and baking it themselves, and of course you can understand after some of the previous lessons how healthy that can be, especially when you know what's in your food and what's going into it when you're baking it and cooking it yourself. Creating power and water sources for your homestead, that's another big activity. It can go anywhere from simple to very complex. That's beyond the scope of Sizzle Kids. We like to talk about food here. So, but that's another big activity that you do on a homestead. And then DIY projects, so do it yourself projects. As you can imagine, true rural homesteaders spend a lot of their time building chicken coops and cleaning out livestock and um, all kinds of do it yourself projects for water, for electricity, for the animals, for the vegetables, for the house, all kinds of things. So, all kinds of do it yourself projects. On that note, here's a little bit more detail about what you might do on a homestead. Again, gardening and growing food. You have vegetables, you could have orchards, you might have a greenhouse. You learn all about companion planting and what plants will pollinate other plants, all kinds of things related to gardening. It's probably the number one activity that you're going to be doing if you're interested in homesteading is gardening. So make sure you like that. And we teach all about that here. Raising livestock, again, you can do chickens for eggs and meat, and you can do goats and sheep and bees. We talk about in the next lesson, we'll talk about beekeeping, really fun activity to do as well. And kids, it's awesome. It's super fun to do. You'll need supervision for that one. And even raising cows for meat and milk and things like that. So raising livestock, probably the top two activities you'll do on a homestead are gardening and raising livestock. With all that food, you need to preserve it, you need to store it, you learn how to can it, freeze it, dehydrate it, ferment your foods. A lot of homesteads will build a root cellar, which can be very basic and simple. A hole in the ground, for example, that you can kind of walk down into and store your food down there. It's naturally cold down there, so you don't need refrigeration. And you could have a root cellar like that. There's root cellars that you can buy and bury that do pretty much the same thing. And this is where you can store your food. Now, you don't need to have any of these things. You can store your food in a cool garage or anything, but preserving and storing food is going to be a big activity because you're going to have all this abundance of all this beautiful, healthy food, and you want to be able to store it for later. Cooking and baking from scratch. We get into that in pillar 3 of Sizzle Kids. Uh, we learn how to cook and bake from the very ground up, from boiling water, just everything. And so you're going to be doing a lot of cooking and baking from scratch. So if you love doing those things, you're already doing a little bit of homesteading. Building and do it yourself projects. animal shelters, your house, composting, which we're going to get into in one of the next lessons, and all kinds of projects are going to be there for you to do and that you'll need to be doing on a homestead in various scales. Handcrafting and skills development. You might not have a mall or a store to go to buy your clothes, so you'll want to learn how to sew. Woodworking, again, building chicken coops and livestock areas and whatever else you might want. So, handcrafting and skills development, these types of things, also the do it yourself projects and the handcrafting and skills development. A lot of people that are interested in homesteading and do homesteading on any scale might sell some of their goods. So, they might make things out of wood, furniture, or other things and sell them for some income for the homestead. Again, raising bees, you can sell the honey. A lot of people that do homestead, they turn their products of the homestead into income sources. So that's really cool. Hunting, fishing, and foraging, you're going to be doing some of that out there on your land, depending on how rural you are. If you're an urban homestead, you may not do as much of that. But that's pretty self explanatory. You'll be, hunting rabbit or quail or even deer. Now, these things all have, there's restrictions in a lot of places about hunting. So look into that in your area. Fishing, same thing. Foraging for edible plants and berries and things like that. And this gets really back into the hunter gatherer societies that all humans used to hunt and forage for their food. So it's kind of getting back to the land when you're doing any kind of homesteading activities and all the way back to the hunter gatherer societies. And then environmental management. It's really important to keep your land healthy and sustainable and to keep your soil productive and not depleted. And so it's important to manage your environment. And that's a big part of homesteading too, especially out in the rural areas. So that's just a little bit about homesteading. I gave you one resource for looking into homesteading more, restorationacres.com. There's so many other resources on the internet that you can find. So if this is an area that interests you in any way, on any scale, go and check it out. It's really fun. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about beekeeping.